More variations of this to capture all those different, you're absolutely right. Yeah. The number you might want to look at is line 30 in 2022, where our tax rate
Yeah,
goes down.
you see the closures of the TIDs in the tax rate, which is what determines everyone's taxes, which is, yeah, the $300,000 home thing was a little.
Well, whatever that
Some
number
communities
is.
just take 100,000, and then if you have a $400,000 home, you just multiply by 4.
Right, I mean.
So that's another way of doing it,
the
is
tax
just to
rate.
do it on 100,000.
Yeah, well, we could even do a chart like 100, 200, 300, 400, 500,
We could.
and then people can just look on the chart and see, what it is.
Hopefully they're thinking that this is less math for people to do if they have a home that's around 300,000, you know.
Yeah, but also when the tax rate goes from 8.16 to 7.86, I mean, that's a big drop in the tax rate. So, but when you look at the tax bill, it goes up, so.
Well, again,
And that's an artifact of how you're calculating the 300,
Exactly.
yes, so, yeah, I mean, in a way, if we did per 100,000, well, that is per 100.
But here's kind of words I got as a last year. We did per 300,000 and let that index, right?
Yeah.
Well, then the people's assessed values were going up at the same rate that the taxes, so the tax rate never looked like it changed, and that was equally as misleading. So I will continue to work on these schedules, particularly as the TID closures get closer, and find ways to maybe expand on that either in this process or.
There's a problem if you start adjusting the 300,000 to try to get a mean or an average every year, because then people think you're screwing around with the with that number in order to adjust it on.
And if you just go on a per $100,000 value, well, if your values are increasing 2% a year for 6 years, well, you get all out of sync that way too. So I'll work on building out maybe a whole supplemental schedule to follow this one for next year.
But like I was saying, the $300,000 house is just supposed to be an example, because that's where we were guessing where the median was, you know, so.
It's a benchmark, yes.
It's just an example, so I mean, we could change the example to 330 or something, couldn't we? I mean.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a part of me that, although...
Ann had a question here.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
You can ask it. Go ahead. I'll trade.
Although I think last year I asked about that indexing that 300 over the years, but I find it valuable to keep the 300 constant, because, you know, I'm going back to last year's financial plan and the year before financial plan, and we hold those variables constant. It's easy for me to...
And in my mind, if we're going to change it, I'd only want to change it to 100,000. I'd rather keep it at 300,000 or change it to 100,000.
Simple math.
Simple math. Right.
Maybe 100,000 is better,
You can't.
but it's easier than trying to figure it out for
Just to make sure I'm tracking the conversation, so I think you've done a great job in capturing suggestions about how to make it more readable and interpretable, if that's a word. And so right now, it's not that we have a decision to make about a different way of presenting, it's just looking at it different ways and if there's value or some use or something, right?
Well, I take notes every year
Right.
I go through this and try to integrate as much of that as possible to the next.
Right, which
Yeah.
I appreciate. So in the last, the value of pending TID tax relief, that section, my guess is that your intention of modeling that was to be of some use. I mean, obviously, can we just go back to you stating your intention, what you were hoping we would be able to use that modeling for in the context of this conversation?
Let me try answering that.
Okay.
Only from the standpoint that you can shoot me down on this one. But as I look at it, $600 on a $300,000 home if the taxes are around $10,000 on the $300,000 home, that's about 6%. So what it's kind of telling me is, all these TIDs that we have, the increment on them might be saving the typical homeowner about 6% on
I think that's.
taxes that we would, that it would have gone up more than, it's going up 6% less
Right.
than what it would have gone up without these TIDs, once all the TIDs close.
Yeah,
And there's, and, you know, that 6% is subject to a lot of error right now, too.
Right.
It seems to be it passes a reasonableness test to me.
No, I am finding it useful, but I just want to go back to what your intention, because I think we're all doing something different with it.
Right.
To provide context for ourselves, which is great. I mean, I think that's a value of this. So, but did you have a specific intention about how we would use this, this aspect of?
Well,
Because that's
the illustration is that because of all the TID activity, a lot of incremental value that was driven off of TID debt, driven off all the other projects, other improvements within TIDs, been kind of tied up in those districts. So as that breaks free, at some point, there's an inherent value
Right, which we always allude to, but this is kind
To
of
that.
quantifying that.
is all other things equal, that value in 2021
Would look
is about $600, $624 per house for $300,000 of assessed value of home per year
Right. Thank you.
going forward. That was kind of the takeaway I was hoping to
And responding to.
put some context to.
Great, and it's a question that comes up all the time, how is this going to benefit us? So I appreciate it. No, I find it very useful, I just wanted to touch on it, make sure I was
Okay.
on the same. Thank you.
So, could another way of looking at it be the total increment on all the TIDs that we have? And we probably have to include TID number 2 in that too. So TID
Don't
number,
make me go back.
I know,
Right.
but, you know,
But,
in some
yes.
respects.
True.
So we have TIDs 1 through 5, and they got an increment, and if you could somehow see what that increment is in equalized value, and compare that to total equalized value of, 1.6 billion, that would be another way to look at the advantage of what the goodness financially that TIDs have done. Am I making,
Yeah, there's a lot of computations we could run.
I mean, you have to do the lost revenue too of that inflation. I mean, we're just looking at the.
Well, there's many
Yeah.
Right,
bases
right.
with that apple, yeah. Now, the most interesting thing is, by and large, the impact of the TID's closing with the largest portion of the tax will be in the school district is mitigated by the change in state funding as current law
for school funding?
for school funding.
Right.
So, should those laws change in the next 5 years, that number would be significantly higher.
And then you have to look at the non-financial aspects of it too, if you feel as though it's done something for vibrancy too.
I have just a question. My biggest concern doesn't have anything to do with this TIF discussion. Is last year, for change in your village tax bill scheduled for 2018 with a 1.5% tax levy was $3. And this year, it's projected with a 2% tax levy, which should be more revenue.
Tax levy increase.
Yeah, 2%, right? Rather than the 1.5% we've been using here and here. And it goes up to $106. So there must be, and I'll wait till we get into the project. So that is concerning me that we would have to increase taxes by potentially in these forecasting models. by 2% with the stuff that's in here, and still, raise taxes by $106, so.
Well, again, there's a couple metrics that changed. Number one, last year we stabilized some of our debt service.
Are we not planning that?
That's not built into any of these models. So now it's last year compared to nothing this year.
Was it in last year's long-range financial plan, was that debt stabilization factored in?
I don't believe, I do
think
not
they're
believe it was
apples to apples.
applied to those calculations.
Yeah, so I think these are apples to apples regardless of,
Well, no, 2017 now is historical, that's fixed.
yeah.
It's not projected anymore, so comparatively,
Oh, I know, but I'm just saying what we budgeted, what we thought for 2018 didn't include debt service, and it was a 1.5% increase in tax levy for the moderate, and it got us at $30. And then this year, for 2018, we're projecting it'll be 106 with a 2%.
but
moderate.
again, I know you're right, I'm sure you're looking at it. But again, there were some changes as well on how we looked at our home value, and we indexed our home values last year's plan. On the short term, it shouldn't have that big of a swing. But we also moved those debt repayments for the North Shore Fire Department out of capital into debt service. And debt service is a scheduled random variable, not subject to those 2% anymore. So that's a big hump.
That's
On that, if you look at
$63,000.
last year's to this year's, it's a big hump.
It won't be looking, I mean, in the broad, it's 4.7%. I mean, that bottom line, is we're gonna be working back on what's acceptable
Right.
for the board as a tax levy increase. for us.
And again, as much as I like to try to make improvements, every time you make one improvement, you distort every comparative number you're going backwards in some way.
Right.
And, but I can certainly look at those and tell you what the drivers of those are, specifically, tomorrow. So, I think those were the big gorillas as far as, the overall picture. Page 6 then is just an illustration
Can you
of.
just give us what's left of this evening? What are we gonna be doing this evening?
I'm going
Until we finish?
to try to turn through the next 6-7 pages here in about 10 minutes. And then it's at the board's discretion to discuss the capital plan and the project allocation.
If I could just make a recommendation, maybe let's let Mark finish up 6 through until we get to the request, and then
Sure.
trustees, if you have any questions, just kind of write down, just so we can let kind of Mark get done with his presentation, and then, because I want to be respectful of the staff's time that we have here too, that we can get to their projects.
And then ask the question after the project.
Yes. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
So page 6 is really your breakouts again, just a little more detailed lens on how these property taxes rolled up to previous schedules. It's all index formula driven. And again, we know that every year we're going to fine tune this and reset the bar for the next year and the next iteration, but so it's much more the same, just looking at it by fund. And again, you'll notice the debt service fund is fluctuating dramatically, while everything else is stable. And again, that's because the debt service comes off of a schedule, not off of a percentage increase for moderate low growth. Page 7 looks at our revenues. Property taxes are top of the line, but they're also the bottom of the line, because that's our gap fill number. Whatever we don't have in other revenues and whatever we've got in expenditures, the difference must be made up in property taxes. So again, it just shows a general schedule of revenues and expenditures by fund. Debt service is off of a schedule. Capital projects is off of a schedule where we try to match based on the plan. The bond proceeds, not necessarily when they're issued, but they coincide with the project year so that we have a smooth transition. The bottom of page 7, net change in fund balances. These are the gaps that will occur over time as that difference between revenues increasing at 1%, taxes at 2%, expenditures at 2%, and then debt service kind of pushes that number up as well. So those are the annual challenges that we address each year when we get into the budgeting cycle to resolve those imbalances as they come.
Now, you've got the net change in fund balance there, but you don't have the fund balance line item.
Right.